Hey, what is up, everybody? I am here to give you my read aloud series for a rich look at the history of the WWE Championship book read aloud series. That's a fucking mouthful, but whatever. I know it's been a few weeks since I've done this, um, but yeah, I've been doing other videos on this channel and all my other channels, which is my own The Talkinator channel, which you should subscribe to, and then obviously my CM Brothers channel as well, which you should subscribe to that. So I just haven't really been able to really do this video series, but I'm here to do it now. I'm going to. I really want to be done with this book. I'm hoping to be done with it at the end of the month. Um, but that's all speculation. We're gonna have to wait to see if that's gonna happen. Um, I want to be done with a good portion of this book. So yeah, I'm going to be doing yeah a lot of read aloud series today. I probably should read this video because it's sucking right now, but whatever. Um, so yeah, I am going to be reading chapter 30. And if you want to check out my read aloud series for this book, chapters 1 through 29, click on the playlist right up there. And if I don't post it there, I'll make sure to put it in the playlist down in the description box down below. And now that I've gone through all that, let's start off by reading this read aloud series. This chapter is called "The Champ Is Here." So obviously you know who this is referencing, but if you don't know, uh, let's find out. Over the course of WrestleMania's 20-year history, it had become customary for the WWE champion to close the show. Many saw it as a sign of respect reserved specifically for the holder of WWE's flagship title and his opponent. Understandably, when JBL learned his title defense wasn't going to close WrestleMania 21, he was more than a little miffed, but not because he wouldn't be afforded the spotlight. No offense to the guys in the main event, but I think it was a horrible mistake not to let John Cena close the show that night, says JBL. It was clear Cena was going to be the guy to carry the company, and he deserved to close. I said it at the time, but they disagree with me, and in hindsight, I think they would probably agree with me now. John Cena, on the other hand, was just happy to be a part of the WWE Championship match. Um, it didn't matter if it was first, last, or somewhere in between. Um, the match ended up happening just prior to the night's final contest, Triple H versus Batista, after an extravagant entrance that saw fake $100 bills fall from the ceiling. JBL instantly jumped on the offensive. He maintained that momentum through the first 9 minutes of the match, but despite his constant offense onslaught, he couldn't keep John Cena's shoulders down for the 3 count. Finally, JBL went for the kill with his signature clothesline from hell, but Cena countered it into an attitude adjustment, which was called the FU at the time, for the win, thus ending JBL's epic 10 months on top the WWE roster. I regret that I didn't have more gas in my tank, says JBL. A lot of guys are able to compete in the ring until they are 45 or even older, but my time came a lot earlier because of all the injuries. I think I could have done a lot of stuff over the next few years based solely on that championship run, but my body gave out on me, which I regret. But then again, I guess if it happened earlier in my career, I wouldn't have had the mental acumen, acumen as far as wrestling is concerned to handle it. I learned a lot during that championship reign, and I thought I already knew a lot. Um, Unlike such timeless classics as Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart from WrestleMania 12 or Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle from WrestleMania 20, JBL versus um, John Cena was fought at a very slow and methodical pace, resulting in many historians choosing not to list it as an all time great WrestleMania match. The slight might um, bother some superstars. Not Cena though. In fact, he doesn't even remember the match. My week was so busy. Literally, I was everywhere at all, at all, at once, all week. Before I go on to the next page, here was a picture of John Cena winning the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 21. But yeah, so he continued. He says, my week was so busy. Literally, I was everywhere at once all week long. I just remember that after it was done, I had the WWE Championship. It went by so fast, I didn't really have the chance to put it all in perspective. Um, Looking back though on it, um, I can understand JBL's point of view of wanting that to close the show, considering the fact that I mean, it's obviously very well known anyway that John Cena ended up being the face of the WWE, even to about I would say up until maybe 2016. I still he still kind of is the face, but obviously because he's become a part timer now, um, he's obviously not as much of the face as the face of the WWE as he used to be. Um, that distinction's gone to so another superstar. Um, but yeah, so then John Cena. What was I trying to say? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So I can understand JBL's point of view there, but considering that the match wasn't very good and stuff, and you had Batista and Triple H in the main event, and obviously Triple H, because of his big ego at the time, probably thought he deserved to close WrestleMania. That match did have the better story in it, considering the fact that Triple H and Batista were together in Evolution together. And it's not like that match was the greatest either, but you know, Batista you also had win the Royal Rumble in 2005. And if you think about it, they were like the last two matches of the show. And if I had my say, and like if I had final say, I definitely would have gone with Triple H and Batista to main event WrestleMania, um, and probably have John Cena and JBL to kind of, you know, be like the secondary match to close the show. That's just me, if you ask me, but um, that's just my thoughts there. Things got even busier for John Cena following WrestleMania 21. Not only did he need to fulfill his commitments as WWE Champion, both in and out of the ring, but his debut hip hop album also dropped shortly after, resulting in twice the public appearances. But Cena never batted an eye, sorry. Instead, he made a commitment to himself to make both his reign and his album as successful as possible. And from a distance, his peers um, looked on it looked on it pure amazement. John Cena is a prime example of what it means to be champion, says Big Show. I don't think even goes home. Whether you like him or not, you're not going to outwork him. The kid doesn't know surrender. And that's not a slogan for his t shirt. John Cena can run 8 weeks in a row, not go home, and still outwork everyone around him, all with a smile on his face. That's a real credit to the kind of guy he is and the work ethic he has. Cena's tireless effort helped You Can't See Me debut at number 15 on the Billboard charts. Amazingly, the champ also found time to ditch the traditional WWE Championship belt design and belt. No, sorry, W. I'm just gonna read that again. Amazingly, the champ also found time to ditch the traditional WWE Championship belt and design in a completely new look. Look like most of its pre, predecessors, the new version featured an eagle strapped across the top, but in the center there was a giant diamond encrusted WWE logo that spun. And I don't have it. I had it like right up there. I don't know what I did with that. I have like a custom custom WWE Championship like belt, but I don't no I don't have it up there. But I used to keep it right up there, and I was gonna put it down here to show you guys, but I guess I don't have it there, so I'd have to locate that. But it's the thumbnail of this video. Um, Referred to as the spinner belt, the new look title was frowned upon by traditionalists who believe the WWE Championship should be simply stated and void of all blend. Those traditionalists should watch some old matches from the 1950s and tell me they are excited, Cena retorts. This business is evolutionary. As a company and as a brand and as a champion, I wanted to move forward and start a new tradition. Eventually, John Cena's extracurricular activities began to rub fans the wrong way. In the past, they could count on the champion defending against the roster's most worthy competitors. But ever since Cena won the title, he only managed to earn a few victories over less accomplished superstars such as Orlando Jordan and Rene Dupree. He had yet to truly put in an in-win stamp on his reign. Judgment Day was Cena's opportunity to prove he had the in-win wherewithal to be WWE champion. Competing against JBL in an I Quit match, he absorbed a DDT on the floor, being abused with a leather strap, having his head rammed with a microphone, and being bloodied by a steel chair. It was a punishment Cena had never felt before, but he still refused to say, I quit. Instead, the bloodied champion sent JBL crashing through a nearly table before threatening to ram him with a steel exhaust pipe. At that moment, JBL chose to live to fight another day. He grabbed the microphone from the referee and screamed the two most humiliating words any superstar could say: I quit. The win gave Cena his first pay-per-view victory as WWE champion, but more important, it also solidified him as a great champion in the eyes of many, but not all. I think I'm still working on convincing everybody of my worth, says Cena. I'm glad people still talk about that match, and I'm glad they enjoyed it. But this is a very finicky profession. Um, very what you have done for me lately. So you can never rest on what you've done. You're expected to prove your worth every single day. A few weeks after Judgment Day, Cena was forced to prove himself against an entirely new roster when he was drafted from SmackDown to Raw. Pre-draft stipulations allowed him to take the WWE Championship with him, which clearly caused Raw's existing superstars to salivate at the thought of challenging for the title. But change in scenery did little to slow down the white hot Cena. The wins kept piling up for him as the calendar began to close on 2005. Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels, and Randy Orton all became victims of the champ, but as the new year emerged, so did a new challenge. In the final act as Raw General Manager, Eric Bischoff announced that Cena would defend the WWE Championship against HBK, Angle, Chris Masters, Carlito, and Kane in an Elimination Chamber match at New Year's Revolution. With six superstars all vying for the same prize, um, the percentages was clearly working against the champ. But just as he did so many times in the past, Cena overcame the adversity and battled through a grueling 30 minutes of abuse to retain his title. The referee draped the gold over the exhausted champ's beaten body, signifying the end of the event. Mr. McMahon had other ideas. Don't go anywhere, he announced to the audience. Nobody goes anywhere. This night is not over. Raise the cage. The confused ring crew looked at McMahon dumbfounded. Raise the cage, I said. The elimination chamber finally began to ascend toward the ceiling as a weakened Cena struggled to get feet to get to his feet. The reason this night is not over will become more apparent in a moment. First of all, I would like to congratulate John Cena on retaining his WWE Championship. But there was one match to happen here tonight, and the individuals is cashing in his Money in the Bank privilege that he earned at WrestleMania. The WWE Championship match will take place right here, right now. John Cena defends against Edge. It was probably the worst Vincent Kennedy McMahon impression ever, but I figured that I figured I'd give it a try. It's probably not the easiest when you have to say like full sentences, but anyhow, with Cena still on the mat, Edge handed his briefcase to McMahon and made his way to the ring. The exhausted champ finally found the strength to stand as the bell rang, signifying the start of yet another title defense. A mere 2 minutes later, it was all over. Edge had flattened Cena with two spears to claim the WWE title. Um, for Edge, a self-admitted Hulkamaniac, the victory was the realization of a lifelong dream. Growing up in Toronto, he fantasized about one day following in his hero's footsteps. And on this night, after more than a decade of competing professionally, his dream finally came true. As he reached for his newly won title, a wave of emotion overcame the champ. The magnitude of the situation took over, and I began to well up. When I heard the announcement, it was all so surreal. I had to stop and ask myself, is this real? Is this really happening to me? When the new champ reached the locker room, he called his mother to share the good news. She was there through all the steps along the way. She was there for my first ever match, and she was there for my first WWE match. She was there for all those special moments. My only regret was that she wasn't there that day. That's why I made sure she was my first call. In retrospect, it was probably the best thing that she wasn't there. She definitely would not have approved of what her son did next. After hanging up with his mother, Edge and girlfriend Lita went on WWE.com to declare that they were going to celebrate the win by having hot, nasty sex. The next night on Raw, it was my job to push buttons. If people were offended, it meant I was doing my job. The ratings also proved that. The lewd act registered an amazing 5.2 rating, which was the highest rating for Raw ended in more than 2 years. Edge's popularity had resulted in 25 million WWE.com page views in just 24 hours. The combination of his television and online success gave the rated R superstar every right to call himself the most watched WWE champion of all time. Which here's a picture, the infamous live sex celebration on Raw. I'm gonna bring it up closer. The only problem was that he wasn't going to be champion for long. On January 29th, 2006, John Cena forced Edge to tap out to an STF at the time called the STFU at the Royal Rumble, thus ending his melodic rise to the top. Without a doubt, I was very frustrated at that point, says Edge. I took that frustration and channeled it into motivation. I wanted to show that they should have had me in the main event at WrestleMania. So I went out there against Mick Foley at WrestleMania 22, and I went through a flaming table, and I landed on thumbtacks, and I made sure they knew that I was there and I belonged in the main event. Um, while Edge was competing in a hardcore match against Mick Foley at WrestleMania, John Cena was busy defending his WWE Championship against Triple H in the main event. The match Edge believed he deserved. Cena defeated the game that night to retain the title. But while he certainly had reason to celebrate, the results of an earlier match that night would later come back to haunt his reign. In the night's second contest, Rob Van Dam outlasted five other superstars to capture the Money in the Bank briefcase, meaning he would challenge Cena for the WWE Championship anytime, any place. Like Edge, the original Money in the Bank winner already opted not to cash in his WWE title opportunity right away. Instead, he wisely sat back and waited, carefully assessing when the champ would be at his most vulnerable. Then, when WWE when WWE announced they were going to hold an ECW pay-per-view at New York's Hammerstein Ballroom, an old ECW stomping ground, RVD saw his opening. Realizing he would have the support of the entire arena, the ECW original challenged Cena to a WWE Championship match. A barrage of boos rained down on the champ as he entered the ballroom for one night stand. For John Cena, mixed reaction was commonplace in WWE arenas, but this was far from mixed. Nearly all of the ECW crowds was firmly stationed in RVD's corner. The negative vibe they came out with for me was fantastic, remembers Cena. It made for one of the better atmospheres ever seen. I loved every second of it. It was ECW's purest rooted for one of their own. Prior to the start of the match, John Cena tossed his hat and t shirt into the crowd, thinking they would make great souvenirs for a few lucky fans. The ECW faithful, however, weren't on the same page as the champ. They wanted no part of the enemy's gear, so they threw um, both items back into the wind, assuming this may have been an isolated act carried out by two rogue fans. Cena picked up the items and threw it back to the crowd. The fans threw them back into the wind again. This went on for several minutes, delaying the start of the match. They even tossed rolls of toilet paper at the champ, a not so subtle sign of what they thought of him. The unrelenting verbal assault continued throughout the start of the match and beyond. Amazingly, Cena managed to ignore the onslaught while controlling much of the offense during the contest. It wasn't until Edge, whose identity was disguised by a motorcycle helmet and long black trench coat, interfered that RVD saw his first true winning opportunity. While RVD was recovering from being dumped out of the ring, Edge ran in and speared Cena through a table. When the challenger finally regained his composure, he noticed the champ laid out in the middle of the ring and began to capitalize. He jumped to the top rope and hit his patented five-star frog splash. Paul Heyman then ran in and made the match end in 3 count. In front of a rabid ECW crowd, Rob Van Dam, who many consider the greatest wrestler never to hold a world championship, finally climbed to the top of the sports entertainment industry. After the match, the new champ celebrated throughout the ballroom, including the balcony, where his wife had watched the historic um, night unfold. And here's a picture that says Rob Van Dam victorious. There it is right there. RBD's victory coincided with the full-time relaunch of the ECW brand, which provided for some initial confusion. Paul Heyman proclaimed that Van Dam would simply take the WWE Championship and rechristen it the ECW Championship, but RVD decided to keep both titles separate, stating that the ECW title was a huge honor, but the WWE title, as he jokingly put it, spins. RVD's decision to defend both titles made him the first and only superstar to hold both the ECW and WWE championships simultaneously. ECW loyalists lauded RVD's unique place in history, but they soon received an unfortunate dose of reality that dashed their dreams of a WWE takeover. On July 2nd, 2006, Van Dam and fellow ECW superstar Sabu were pulled over for speeding and ultimately arrested for possession of drugs in Ohio. As a result, both superstars were handed 30-day suspensions in accordance with the WWE Wellness Program. The few days prior to RVD's suspension taking effect may have been the worst of his professional career. After spending more than a decade and a half clawing for the WWE and ECW championships, he saw both his titles disappear in a matter of hours. On July 3rd, 2016, one day after his arrest, Van Dam lost the WWE Championship to Edge in a Raw triple threat match that also included Cena. 24 hours later, he lost the ECW Championship to Big Show. Shortly after putting the gold back home from its brief stay in the land of extreme, Edge surprisingly asked his girlfriend Lita to toss the prestigious title into the greedy Long Island Sound. This greatly infuriated the title's designer, John Cena, who viciously attacked the rated R superstar. The assault eventually spilled over into the crowd before making its way outside the arena and back toward the sound. WWE officials did their best to separate the two, but there was no stopping Cena. He finally tossed Edge into the same murky waters that the WWE Championship had um, gone into earlier that night. An air raid Edge demanded Cena be fired for his blatant disrespect toward the champion. But before a decision could be rendered, Cena made an offer to the rated R superstar he could not refuse. As expected, he asked for a rematch with Edge, but he raised the stakes by agreeing to leave Raw forever if he could not win back the gold. Seeing that Seeing this as his opportunity to rid himself of John Cena once and for all, Edge agreed to the rematch but also added a stipulation of his own. The contest would take place under TLC rules at Unforgiven in the champ's hometown of Toronto. In Canada, Edge is recognized as a national hero, proud to see himself one of their own make it big. Canadians managed to look past all of Edge's um, despicable traits and show him unconditional support and every time he competes in their arenas. On this night, was the locale was the Air Canada Center, and they cheered him wildly upon his announcement. My real emotions came out that night, remembers Edge. If you go back and watch the match, you can see me trying to hold that emotion back when I was announced. I had all these different thoughts swirling around in my head. It was just really amazing for me, a longtime fan, to be able to go into the ACC and compete and defend the title in the main event of my hometown in a TLC match. Ironically, Cena, who was met with a reception similar to the one he received at ECW One Night Stand, also found pleasure in being a part of Edge's homecoming. That was a really that was a really enjoyable moment for me, says Cena, to see the kid who grew up idolizing WWE be in a championship match in his hometown was a lot of fun. The fun stopped once the bell rang, especially for Edge, who admits to being legitimately knocked out during the contest. John had me in the attitude adjustment when I was strapped in the ladder, says Edge. And that's the thing I last remember. I just blacked out. Then I remember hearing a snoring sound which when I watched it back found it was me making the sound. Then I remember thinking I was missing an Air Canada fight for some reason. Then I rolled over and got to my feet, but I was still in dream mode as he was running at me with a ladder. When I landed, it knocked me into reality. Looked up and saw a huge maple leaf and went, "Oh, I'm in the ACC." And then I just see the ladder landing on me. Later in the match, both superstars managed to simultaneously work their way up the ladder. At the top, they exchanged blows before Cena scooped the champ onto his shoulders for the attitude adjustment, or FU, whatever you want to call it. Um, from 16 feet in the air, he sent Edge crashing through two tables. With Edge motionless on the mat, Cena grabbed the gold and his third WWE championship. Unlike most champions, Cena refused to celebrate his win. Instead, he simply walked over to his father, who was seated in the first row, hugged him, and walked away emotionless. He later admitted that the brutality of the match went further than he had hoped. He didn't want to get that extreme, but he realized there was no turning back. So he dumped Edge off the giant ladder, grabbed his title, and went home. And this is the picture of John Cena about to grab the WWE Championship. And pretty much, yeah, that's the end of that chapter. Overall, good chapter. Obviously, it was pretty much the start of the rise of John Cena. And obviously, something they leave out is you actually forget that the fans of I would say around the summer of 2005 started to kind of turn on Cena. I remember he started to get kind of booed, or he was getting mixed reactions then, and then he started getting booed when he was put into the match with RVD. Obviously, it was still stupid to take the WWE Championship off Edge at the Royal Rumble in 2006. As he states in that book, he really should have made event in WrestleMania in 2006. The WrestleMania 22 probably should have been Edge and John Cena in the main event. But if you think about it, it all did work out because if Edge didn't lose the WWE Championship, we probably never would have seen that amazing hardcore match between him and Mick Foley. Um, and then obviously, you have the stuff that happened with RVD. It just kind of sucked that RVD fucked up and ended up getting arrested for pot because it who knows, maybe RVD would have walked into SummerSlam with that WWE Championship. Maybe Edge would have beaten him for the championship, or maybe that triple threat match that happened on Raw would have happened at SummerSlam. You really don't know. And then obviously you have Cena and Edge, and the one good thing about, well, I mean, that feud was great anyways, but the thing that really came out of that feud is that brought out, because Cena wasn't like the best wrestler in his first year, but the matches he had with Edge that made Cena a better wrestler. That they brought out the best in each other, and that's really the only thing you can ask for. Um, so that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel for more content and click on the bell so that way every time I upload a video on this channel, you'll get the notification for it. Do the same thing for my CM Brothers and Owen Talking to YouTube channel. Subscribe, like I said earlier in this video, but also every time, also click on the bell on those videos so that way every time I upload a video on those channels, you guys will get the notification for it. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.